Hey, welcome into the Arrowhead Addict Podcast Thursday edition. Patrick Allen, Matt Verderame here to preview Chiefs at Jaguars. Kansas City's going on the road. Got a lot of road games coming up, but this is a big one after a really tight overtime win against the Titans on Sunday Night Football. We're going to get into all of that, but first, pleasantries. How you doing, Verderame?
I am fine. I'm finishing eating a gummy bear. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I just, we have campfires out here sometimes in the summer, and so I got a bunch of s'more stuff on hand, and I can't help but like every once in a while just grab like a graham cracker and like break off a piece of chocolate and go to town on it. Sometimes I even pull out the marshmallow. So I just did that right before the show. I needed to get myself a little energy, hit that mid-afternoon wall. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling energized.
I hear you. My wife loves s'mores to an unhealthy degree. I actually, for our anniversary gifts, which I know your anniversary is coming up this weekend, 10 years.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
So there's like a theme for all these things, which I didn't know until the first one, which I didn't get a theme gift because I had no idea what was happening. But for the last one we had, I think it was like a wooden theme or something. So I got her a thing that said like Steph's S'mores Bar, and it was like it's inside the house. It has a little Bunsen burner. You can just make s'mores anywhere you are.
Oh, that's cool.
And she loves it. The downside is we constantly have full-size Hershey bars and graham crackers. I'm not a marshmallow guy. Don't hate them, just don't love them. So my s'more is just a chocolate bar between two graham crackers, and love it to an unhealthy point.
I feel like graham crackers are really underrated.
They're very good.
As a food,
very good. I love the chocolate ones.
Yeah.
With the sugar on. Oh my god.
Yeah. You're not kidding.
Crack.
That anniversary stuff, man. I'll tell you. Like I was looking at it. If you go back, they have like there's like the old traditional anniversary gift, like what you're supposed to do, and it's like normal shit, right? Like it's like paper and tin and aluminum and like wood. It progresses, and we did that for the first few years. And I'm looking at the the new ones. If you Google this, they'll have like, here's the new age ones. It's like you get to 10 years and it's diamond.
It's not good.
What the? I'm still paying off the damn engagement ring.
Yeah,
from 10 years ago, and I've got to get diamonds again, and you go through it, and it's like every 2 years, like sapphire, emerald, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Feels like a woman came up with that one.
Like you know what? I remember. God, we must have been married for a year or two, maybe. And her family has this tradition of going into Chicago and staying for the weekend every year, and it's great. We have a great time. And one year, like right where we stay is down near the Diamond District, which is where I bought Steph's engagement ring. And so, there's that whole, like, you have the wedding band, and then you have the engagement ring, and then sometimes you can get like the other, I don't know if there's an actual term for this, but like the other like form of the engagement ring. So like it creates like a thing of like three rings together. Two bands with the ring in the middle, right? So she was like, oh, one day I'd love to get the other band or whatever. And we were down there. I was like, oh, what the hell? It's Christmas. Let's just get it. And went there, and it was significantly more than my wedding band because hers has diamonds all over it. And so it was one of those things like in my head. I'm like, that's a good idea. And then we got there, and they told us what the price was, and she was all excited. And I was like, well, too far down this road now to turn back. So, okay. It's the most expensive Christmas I've ever had in my life. But these things happen. Yeah, the anniversaries, it's like it's nice, but then it turns into what could potentially be just a massive ripoff at some point.
Jewelry's no joke, man. I mean,
no,
it is pricey. But it's cool. It's fun. It's fun to splurge every once in a while on your loved one. Speaking of splurging, something that I recommend you splurge on if you're in the Kansas City area is Kansas City Beer at KC Beer Co. Our sponsors for this podcast. They've been with us for a long time. They're going to be with us all throughout the year. We're super excited to have them on board as a sponsor. Just absolutely delicious beer. Their Fest beer this time of year is really good. I'm a big fan of the Dunkel. All German brew styles. You hear us talk about them all the time. So definitely check out the Kansas City Beer Company. Give them a shout out on Twitter for us and help us out. It's at KC Beer Co. on Twitter, and let them know you heard about their beer on our podcast and dare to beer different. Dare to Beer different. People in the chat are saying, all hail KC Beer. I appreciate it. And shout out to everybody in the chat, especially all of our members, Arrowhead Addict members. If you want to be part of the community that we're building here, hang out with us tonight, watch Thursday Night Football on the private Discord. God knows you'll need somebody to talk to because it's Panthers Falcons. I tweeted earlier, should I watch Panthers Falcons or scoop my eyeballs out with a spoon? What do you think, Verderame?
I think it's more painful to watch this game. I'm going over to a buddy's house, and it is not going to be good. I'm going to bring over like 3 or 4 Coronas, and we're going to sit there and eat pizza. And I frankly do not want to watch this game. It's just, I know why they have to have every team play on Thursday night if they're going to do a Thursday night package, because it's only fair. You can't have a team playing 4 Thursday night games. Like it's crazy. Some of these matchups are just brutal. They're so bad. The only thing that makes this game interesting is both these teams are just such a train wreck that you never know what's going to happen. And Atlanta somehow is tied for first place. Like, the game actually does matter for the playoff picture because the NFC South is so bad. But oof. Yeah. I'll tell you right now, I'm watching the Devils until that game's over. Then I will go to my buddy's house and watch the last 3 quarters of that mess.
I've got some sympathy for them because it's they don't know necessarily who's going to be good and who's going to be complete garbage when
they knew these teams weren't going to be good.
Yeah, that's fair.
Come on.
But like, I don't know. Would you rather see a matchup of 2 teams who stink and so like it might be competitive, or would you rather see like the Bills play, or the Chiefs play one of these teams and just steamroll them?
No, I hear you. There's an argument. Lucas, by the way, jumped in the chat going after the Devils again. Did it earlier today. Lucas, listen, I understand they're 10-3. I'd be upset too if I wasn't a Devils fan. I was giving you crap. You've been to 3 straight finals. The Devils have not sniffed the final in a decade. I'd rather just see 2 good teams play for once. That would be nice. I'm also really annoyed that the Devils got flexed into Sunday Night Football. It's the Devils, Jesus. The Chiefs. The Chiefs. I'm sorry. That would have been interesting though if the Devils got flexed in. That the Chiefs got it flexed in next week with the Chargers game. Because as much as I enjoy the Chiefs in primetime, that ensures I'm working till 3 a.m.
Right.
So could have done without that. Could have done without that game getting flexed in. And because it's against the Chargers, you just know it's going to be a circus. Like, it just always is. Every game that team plays is a crap show. This game is going to turn into, obviously, we've got to get through the Jaguars game first. We're going to talk about here over the next hour. But I saw the Chiefs got flexed. I was just like, all right. That means 3 hours of sleep before Tuesday or it was before Monday. So, yeah, it's going to be a long weekend next weekend.
It's fun though, like especially when they win, because we've got to do the podcast afterwards, and I should say we get to do the podcast afterwards. It's so much fun, and when the Chiefs win those games, like I'm good with it. Like, it's a late night and it's tiring, and I'm getting to bed after midnight, but it's fun to party with everybody on the chat after they win, or like rage with everybody after they lose. And we had a lot of that early last season. As a fan, would you prefer a Sunday night kick? Like, if you didn't have to work, you just sit back, you watch the game, and then you go to bed?
Yeah. Listen, as a fan, I'm all for it. But like for me, after I'm done with the podcast, then I have to finish stacking the box to column, and then I have to cut a bunch of videos for the morning. So like, it's just, it's tough. It's tough. But listen, if they win, it's still fine. Whatever. If they lose, it becomes difficult. By the way, I fully expect that they're going to get flexed in when they play the Bengals, because they're eligible to be flexed in one more time. And I don't know if you've looked at that schedule that week. The games, by and large, stink. Okay? Miami, San Francisco is a good game. Everything else is atrocious that week. Buffalo plays New England, but it's on Thursday nights. That game's staying where it is. New Orleans plays Tampa. That's on Monday. That's staying where it is. The rest of these games are, like the dregs of football, just over and over. Tennessee at Philly is a good game. Fair enough, but that's not going to be a flex. The Sunday night game that week currently is Dallas, which is like, oh, hey, Dallas. Indianapolis. There's no way that game is staying in Sunday Night Football. And NBC is going to go, hey, Chiefs Bengals, Burrow Mahomes, awesome. So that game's 100% going to be Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, you would think so. Repeat of the AFC Championship game. Hopefully a different result. Chiefs got to get off the schneid against the Bengals. Listen, everybody, we're going to get into some of the discussions here and talk about the AFC, but have a sort of really cool, exciting announcement. We've been teasing this on the podcast for a couple of weeks now, and it looks like it's going to happen, barring any unforeseen circumstances. But we're working out the details right now. The Arrowhead Addict podcast is coming to the Kansas City area to do a live show this season. That's right. We're going to be at Tanner's Bar and Grill, and we're coming out on December 11th for the Chiefs-Broncos Sunday Night Football game, which hopefully doesn't get flexed out. If it does, we'll see you in the afternoon. Lots of details to come, but we're going to be out there. We're really excited. We've wanted to do something like this for a long, long, long time. So we're going to be working with Casey Beer out there. It's going to be an absolute fucking party. Come out, get to meet us in person. We're going to do the thing that we always do for these live, for the big primetime games. We'll have a pre-show, we'll do a halftime show, and then we'll have the big post-game show. We're going to be your hosts for the evening. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be specials, raffles. We're going to be giving shit away. We're going to be betting on the game. It's going to be an absolute blast. So mark your calendars. You guys got to back us up. This is a big place. All right. And if we go out there and nobody shows up, they're not going to have us back. So we need you guys to have our back. And of course, we want to meet you all. We're really, really excited to meet some of the people that we haven't had a chance to meet yet, who have become good friends of ours, whether it be our members in the Discord or just our regular viewers of the podcast. And somebody asked, Tom says, will KC Barbecue be there? They've got food. I haven't dove into the menu yet, but it looks like your typical kind of pub fare. But I think it's really close to, it's on the Kansas side of the border. It's maybe you guys can go scout it for us. 3900 Rainbow Boulevard in Kansas City, Kansas. It's not too far from a Joe's, I believe. So yeah, that you can get your barbecue fix there if you want. But of course, come hang out with us. It's going to be absolutely awesome. We'll have more details coming, and we'll have a way for you guys to maybe kind of RSVP. And you may even get a prize if you do that and you actually show up with your ticket. So we're super excited. We had a meeting about it today. We're going to be talking about it next week. We got 4 weeks to plan it. So we hope to see you all out there at Tanner's Bar and Grill. It's going to be Verderame. People are going to see you in person. What do you think? How do you think that's going to go?
I think people are going to want me to stay off camera and behind the mic after that. And I don't blame them. It's no way to go through life. Thomas is saying, come to Vegas. Thomas, I'll be there next year for the Super Bowl. Yeah, I'm excited. I love going to Kansas City. I felt like I was pretty much doing it annually until COVID happened and then the world shut down. Zach, can you meet Matt? Well, I'll be there. Is Connor coming out?
We got to work it out, but hopefully we can get the crew out.
So yeah, I was gonna say, Zach, I don't know which Matt. I don't want to promise for Connor, but for me, I'll be there. So it'll be great. I can't wait. I'm gonna eat enough barbecue to basically take down a village. It's gonna be one of those trips you get back and you've gained like 9 pounds because all the sodium's just retained the water.
Yep.
And at that point, it's like you've just given up on life. I look for everybody's always like, oh, you got to hit this place, you got to hit that place. That's a loser's ballad. You got to hit all those places.
That's right.
And just basically just sweat it out. Yeah. But I am looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting out there. It's been too long. I think the last time I was in Kansas City, man, it must have been again. It was pre-pandemic, so it was the year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. The year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, we were out there.
Yeah. And we ate so much barbecue.
Oh my God!
It was like the day we left, I smelled like a roasted pig.
Yes,
it wasn't good.
Yes.
I slept in the guest room for a week.
I remember. I'm pretty sure in a 2-day span, hit like Oklahoma Joe's, Jack Stack. I know we went to Q39. Then we went to the game and we had you had to your credit, you had like a van's worth of meat at the stadium.
Yeah,
just eating out of the bag. It was insane.
Yeah.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Great city. Can't wait. Hopefully the weather's nice and clear. It's gonna be cold, but it'll clear at least. So looking forward to it. And Jay, what's a good question? Can under 21 go in?
It's a bar and grill, so yeah,
it's fine.
It's like a restaurant. It's like a restaurant.
Yeah,
it's not like a straight up bar. So we won't be able to buy any shots, but we can still have a good time. Maybe we'll get you the appetizer platter. Yeah, it's going to be an absolute blast. Super fired up. Sterling will be there. We've been working on this for a while. So Tom says I'm only showing up if Verderame does a rant. Listen, like they're playing the Broncos at the very least, right? Even if the Chiefs steamroll them, which they should, he'll rant just about how terrible the Broncos are.
I was going to say, you're getting one either way, because either the Chiefs give me a reason, let's hope that's not the case, or Denver is just Denver, and they're so bad, and it's so hard to watch just from a football perspective that I'll rip Hackett and Wilson for 60 minutes.
Yep.
So, and plus, look, at that point, I mean, the company's basically asking me to go to a bar and grill and have a few beers. So we'll really get into it during the game.
Colin I will be drinking the entire time, so it should be a good post game party. Evan says, when will the details be announced? In the next week or so, we got to talk to our friends at the bar who are so graciously going to be hosting us. We got to coordinate with Casey Beer. We got to do it all in a month. We got to make sure we have the right equipment. We got to get our asses out there. We got to get a hotel room, all that fun stuff. So a lot to figure out, but we'll get you guys the info as it comes out. But just right now, mark off your calendar, December 11th. If you're in the area, or if you're not in the area and you want to come into the area and hang out with us, we're going to be there. We wanted to pick an away game because people want to go to the game, obviously. So the Chiefs will be in Denver. We'll be in Kansas City. What better way to watch that game than with some of our friends? We're super excited about it. Cool. All right. So let's get into some football talk here. So the Chiefs and the slow starts, man. I mean, the Tennessee game was frustrated. They keep doing this. Derrick Henry running wild on the Chiefs and then gets completely neutralized in the second half. Andy Reid, and typically in his time in Kansas City, the Chiefs would start. We've had this team start really fast on offense and then struggle in the second half in previous seasons. That has not been the case. What should we worry about this? What's going on here, Verderame?
I mean, I think at some point it does become an issue. I think it's a game planning thing. I really do. It's easy to blame the coaches. It's easy to blame coaches because it's a hard thing to disprove unless you're going to dive into the film. And most people either don't have the time to dive in film or they don't care to, and I don't blame them. It's easy to just blame the play call, right? Because the process didn't work. And so I'm normally somebody who I give coaches more grace because I just think sometimes there's a lot of things that can go wrong. That being said, I thought the offensive game plan was fine. I thought they didn't execute offensively. They took too many penalties. They didn't block. I mean, that is to some extent, that's on the players. You can blame the coach all you want. I thought their play calling on offense was fine. I thought they just didn't execute. Defensively in the first half of that game, I do not understand for the life of me why they were playing a two-deep shell. Do you not know who you're playing? Yeah. I don't understand this. And then they come out in the second half of the game. Tennessee wasn't doing anything different in the second half. They played the exact same way. And the Chiefs literally held them to 7 total yards over the second half and overtime. I think that is where I get frustrated with the Chiefs. And I think there's also a tendency sometimes to say, well, are they sleepwalking? Well, they better not be. It's Sunday Night Football against a team that's won 5 straight. And by the way, I don't think that was the case. They came out and scored in the first 2 drives. I don't think that they just didn't have an edge to them. They have too many guys in this team who are like Mahomes and Kelsey who are super serious about winning. I just think sometimes these game plans early in the game are very nondescript. Now, to be fair to them, they've been very good coming out of halftime, making adjustments and just annihilating teams out of the half a lot of these weeks. But you worry about that more come January when you can't screw around for a half of football. You've got to handle business. And I am concerned. I'm not overwhelmingly concerned. It's not a 5-alarm fire, but they need to start better in some of these games.
What about the running game, man? I mean, obviously it wasn't part of the game plan to come out and have Mahomes throw the ball 70 times.
Right.
And this was a game that, it was always close, right? It was always within reach of the Chiefs. So it wasn't like there was a need to panic. I know you want to put the ball in your best player's hands as much as possible. And the few times they did try to run the ball with design runs, it didn't go well. But I don't know, why didn't they run it? Why didn't they try to run it a little bit more? Every game that they've played really well this season, they've started out by establishing the run. Arizona, Tampa Bay, San Francisco. They were able to run the football. Why do you think they have this aversion when it seems like it starts going badly early? They're just like, fuck it.
I think a lot of it is just simply who they are, which is to say, this is a team that is built to throw the ball. They have Patrick Mahomes. That's what they want to do. It's how they want to play. And I think a lot of it with them is, listen, they get discouraged easily from running the ball. If it's not going well, then do you really want to do it? Do you really want to continue with it? They have a tendency when they run well early to keep doing it. They don't get away from it. But if they don't run well early in the game, they just abandon it. Now, the part of that, again, to Tennessee's credit, was Tennessee completely shut them down. I mean, they could not get a yard running against Tennessee. So I think there's a tendency with Andy, and I get it to some extent of, hey, look, if it's not going to work, I'm not going to pound my head against the wall here. Let's just drop Mahomes back and let it rip, because that's what scares teams more anyway. But I do believe you have to have some balance. And this actually leads to the next thing we wanted to talk about a little bit, which is the AFC in general.
Yeah.
And the reason I want to kind of segue here is, so the AFC balance of power could really shift this weekend depending on a few things. The Chiefs are at home against Jacksonville. They are 9.5-point favorite. The Chargers are on the road against the Niners on Sunday Night Football. They are a touchdown underdog, 7 points. The Bills on the look-ahead line a week ago were 9.5 points favored against Minnesota. It is now 3.5 because of all this stuff with Josh Allen. That is something to watch, obviously, as Allen has not practiced yet this week. Did not practice Wednesday, did not practice Thursday. This is a huge opportunity for the Chiefs, but the folks on the Bills for a second. This is why with Buffalo, as much as I've been somebody who, look, I've said I think all year they're the best team in football. One concern I have with them, and it's increasingly becoming a concern now, their entire offense is Josh Allen. It's just everything. He's the run game. He's obviously the passing game. And he's the short yardage game. He's the red zone game. He's everything. And now he's hurt. And I think that is the one thing with the Chiefs. The Chiefs, as much as they rely on Mahomes, they don't ask him to be the run game. He can be an extension of it occasionally, but they don't ever call a package play for him to run. You can't get to that point where it just becomes he's got to do everything.
Right.
Because A, it's not sustainable, and B, you run the risk of him getting injured.
Yeah, it's scary, and you don't want to tire out his arm by having him throw too many times. Like, and the Chiefs, you're right with as far as the balance power in the AFC goes, they have to be careful. Like, I know we all we look at the Chiefs and the Bills and we see the eye test and we're like, these are the two best teams, but AFC is crowded right now.
Yep,
right now, it's crowded. Now things will work themselves out. Bills and Chiefs are 6-2. Baltimore 6-3. And then everybody else is right behind. There's the
Dolphins and Jets.
The Dolphins and Jets are 6-3. The Titans are 5-3. The Chargers they won't go away. They're 5-3, even though they don't look great. The
Bengals.
Patriots don't have a quarterback. They're 5-4. The Bengals are 5-4. So I mean, okay, from the Colts down, even the Colts could sneak back in it. They probably won't, but they could because they've won enough games. So I mean, if the Chiefs were to lose this game, they could drop all the way down to the fringe of the playoffs. And if they had lost to the Titans, which they damn near did, they'd be like the 7 seed right now.
You run the risk in the AFC, if you lose a game, that either you're going to drop or it's going to get much tighter. And by the way, you point out Baltimore, okay, who's currently 6-3, and they're on a bye week this week. Let me read everybody really quickly the rest of their schedule. Home to Carolina, at Jacksonville, home to Denver, at Pittsburgh, at Cleveland, home to the Falcons, home to the Steelers, at Cincinnati. They might lose one more game. I mean, maybe 2, because look, Watson will be there for that game with the Browns. So that becomes a tougher game, and it's on the road. Pittsburgh's not good. It's a rivalry. It's one of those things where, you always got to be careful in a game like that. But really, the only game that they might be an underdog in is at Cincinnati.
Right.
That's it. I mean, they are not looking at a hard schedule the rest of the way. So that is something to keep in mind. By the way, another little bit of housekeeping here while we're talking about the AFC. The Raiders, for those who missed it, placed Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow on IR today.
Oof.
Both are out for at least the next 4 games. Raiders are in dire straits at this point now. It looks like it's just basically going to be a flat-out tank job the rest of the way. Not to say that they put these guys on IR because they're tanking and they're hurt, but it looks like this is going to be really rough. And I wonder, frankly, do they come back? I don't know. I mean, by the time they get back, what are they going to be? 3-9, something like that. Also, a little bit of concerning news for the Chiefs today. So McCole Hardman still not practicing with what's being described as an abdomen injury, but also today, L'Jarius Sneed knee injury, limited in practice. So he was listed on Wednesday as a full participant with the knee, now limited. Now we don't know. That could be simply just giving him a lighter day just to ease off, or it could be it's bothering him. So we will see. Didn't hear anything about it coming out of the game. So my hope for him would be that it's just a little bit of a maintenance thing and just take care of it, and that's fine. But just something to watch. So
swelling maybe from the practice the day before.
Could be, it could be a little sore and they just want to back off. I mean, this is the time of year. Look, you don't care if you're a team. If you got to back off an injury a little, so what? I mean, you're trying to get ready. So we will see. Hardman's the one guy right now to really watch, obviously. And if Sneed, trends down again, then you're looking at Josh Williams in there. You're looking at 3 rookie corners in the game simultaneously, which somehow doesn't sound that daunting with the way they've been playing.
Play well.
So, and by the way, check out Film Friday, which is coming out tomorrow. It's about Trent McDuffie. So all that being said, in regard to the AFC, how do you size up like the Bills-Vikings game? Not to get too far away from the Chiefs, but obviously it's really important to them. The Bills-Vikings game, I find it fascinating. Like, I don't think Allen's going to play. I think it will be Case Keenum. Minnesota is winning very closely, but man, they're 7-1, and they have an opportunity to go up to Buffalo and play a Bills team that's not only potentially without Josh Allen, they are beat up defensively. Poyer is likely out. Rousseau's likely out. Hyde out for the season. Milano's back, but he's still beat up. Edmonds might be out. I mean, the Vikings seem to have a real shot in that game.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're 7-1. They've got a positive point differential, good defense, play good defense, and they've got some weapons on offense. Obviously, Justin Jefferson, one of the best receivers in the league. They've got Dalvin Cook, so they've got enough to get it done. Now, if they go up against, that's right, yeah, T.J. Hawkinson now. So, Cousins does a nice job. Not Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, but he's not terrible either. So. And the Bills got Case Keenum. So it really sounds like this injury could be, the Bills rightfully are going to be cagey about it, and they're not going to let anybody know what's going on. Why should they? And the little bit that I've read about this injury, it could be something that takes weeks to heal, and could be a problem, or it could be just a minor, he could be uncomfortable. So it's a tricky one. And they're sitting him out right now, which they probably should be. Why have him throw? He knows how to throw the ball. Look, right after he got, and we don't know that. I don't know if they've confirmed that it happened on the play where he got strip sacked against the Jets, but he uncorked like a 60-yard or 70-yard pass after that, right? So he was still able to throw the ball. Now that doesn't mean he could have. I read about this injury that he could have made it worse when he threw that ball. So there's a lot of unknowns for the Bills, but if Allen doesn't play, like you said earlier in the show, he's their offense. I mean, he's their running game, and they brought in Nyheim Hines, but I don't like their chances in a game against. Sometimes it's weird, sometimes teams rally. We've seen the Chiefs do it with backup quarterbacks before. They're a talented team, so you never know, but obviously it's a problem for the Bills.
Well, so I find that I like going to 538 for NFL stuff sometimes. I think it's interesting, and I don't always really wholeheartedly buy into some of this stuff because numbers can be weird and wonky. But right now, according to 538's predictions, which take them for what you will, okay? If you look at the AFC, the Chiefs have the best chance of any team in the AFC to make the playoffs at 97%. Okay? The Bills are at 94%. Chiefs have a 90% chance of winning the division. Bills are at 64% because the division's stronger. But here's what I find really interesting. Both teams are listed as having a 17% chance of winning the Super Bowl, just tied for second behind the Eagles, who are at 19. The Bills have a 39% chance of getting the first round bye the Chiefs have a 35% chance. But here's what's interesting. The Bills lose this week and the Chiefs win. It goes from what I just said, 39% for the Bills, 35% to Kansas City, to 21% for the Bills, 48% for Kansas City.
No.
So you're talking about a massive, massive week. And if both teams were to win and it just stays even, the Bills then go from 39 to 49. So it's a huge, huge week. Now, again, look, those are numbers, those are projections. It doesn't mean all that stuff's going to happen, whatever. But it just goes to show mathematically, if Kansas City can win this week and it gets some help up in Buffalo from Minnesota, the Chiefs, then it's on their racket the rest of the way. And, they'd have to keep winning, obviously, but they would have a real shot.
Yeah, and Buffalo's got no cakewalk. After Minnesota, they've got
no, they don't.
They're going to host Cleveland, and then they're going to go to Detroit. They still have to play New England twice. Always tricky. Again, divisional game. Pretty good defense. They got to play the Jets again, who just beat them with Josh Allen on the field, and they got to play Miami again, who also beat them this season and is red hot on offense. And oh, by the way, they got Joe Burrow and the Bengals on January 2nd. That's not going to be a cakewalk. And the Chicago Bears, they got to come to Chicago on Christmas Eve. And I know we're all laughing, oh, the Bears, they stink. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but it seems like they finally figured out how to use Justin Fields. They're letting him run with the football a little bit, and it's really opening up that offense for them. That's a game if I'm Buffalo. If they continue to use Fields well and Fields continues to progress, they know better than anybody having a dual threat quarterback, having a quarterback that can get out and make things happen with his legs, and Fields an incredible athlete on Christmas Eve. Guys are thinking about that's the trap game of all trap games. If the Bears offense continues to play well,
could be, and the Bears will be playing hard because they're young. Like I always look at teams like that. Like I'll tell you right now, I think Denver is going to be in the tank like nobody's business because they're a veteran team. The coach is probably gone. Like that is, and you've got to deal with Russell Wilson doing high knees in the aisle all the way to London. Like that. That is just. Yeah. If you said to me, Matt, pick one team that is just going to fold like a cheap suit in the rain this year, them. Yeah. That is just. I can see the Colts being right up there with them. But I mean, the Broncos are just going to absolutely fall apart if they get out of playoff contention, which they're obviously on the edge of right now. They play Tennessee this week. But yeah, I guess to put a bow on it, this is a big opportunity for Kansas City this weekend. It really is. I mean, this is a game you should win at home. And the Chargers are in a game I do not think they're going to win. The Niners are healthy or off a bye. The Niners might rush for 400 yards in this game. The Chargers aren't going to stop them once. I mean, if I was Shanahan, I'm not kidding. I might throw the ball 10 times. I would just run the ball at them the entire game with no fear of anything really of consequence the other way. I think the Chargers cannot protect Herbert in this game if they ask him to drop back for any reasonable amount of time. A lot of dink and dunk. They don't have the receivers. I just, which is, by the way, something to watch with the Chargers. Allen and Williams, are they going to be back for that Chiefs game or are they not? Allen is still dealing with a hamstring. He's been dealing with since week 1. And then you've got Williams, who's dealing with a high ankle sprain, who it would be 4 weeks at Chiefs games, maybe. And Jackson's out. Bosa's going to be out. Slater's out. So
I hope Mike Williams doesn't play. He's like the Chief Slayer.
He kills him.
Dude, my God. Can somebody cover him? McDuffie might get a chance, Adam. We'll see how it goes.
I'll tell you right now, I'd put on him. I would put Joshua Williams or Watson on him because they're big.
Yeah.
They're big guys. They're big, physical. Like if Allen and Williams both play, I just stick Snead in the slot on Allen. And if he flexes wide, I'd put McDuffie on him. But I would put one of those big corners on him. It's regardless, so it'll be interesting. But let's get into let's get into this game. Let's get into this game first. I want to overlook Jacksonville because Jacksonville, I think, is going to be game for this game. No pun intended. Look, so who is Jacksonville? Jaguars are 3-6. They started out the year 2-1. They got wins over the Colts. They shut them out in week 2. They blew out the Chargers 38-10 at SoFi. Everybody got excited. They went to Philly the following week, got a 14-0. Everybody's like, oh my God, Jacksonville. And then got beat the rest of that day 29-7. and they went on a 5-game losing streak. They did break that streak last week, hilariously so, against the Raiders, who got up 17-0 for the third time this year. And the Raiders, for the third time this year, managed to lose that game. So the Jags get off the schneid. They are now 3-6. And so we come into this game with Jacksonville. I don't even think you could realistically say on the periphery of the race. They're not in the playoff race. But they're coming off a win. And they're feeling good about themselves for the first time in a couple of months, essentially. I think this game is a little more interesting than meets the eye.
Yeah, it's we talked about it. We sort of talked about it last week. We didn't think the Tennessee game was going to be. We thought the Chiefs were going to steamroll them. We didn't think it was going to go like that. And we actually talked about, hey, if it was a 1:00 game and they were in Tennessee, the Chiefs might not be up for it. And we talked about the Jaguars game as being a game that could be an issue. 1:00 game. It's a team with a losing record, but yeah, I agree with you, man. I'm a little bit concerned about they've got some weapons, right? Travis Etienne's been really good for them. Trevor Lawrence can run the ball a little bit. But yeah, when you look at their resume, I mean, my God, okay, they lost to the Eagles, but 13-6 to the Texans,
right?
34-27 of the Colts. They lost to the Giants. They lost to Denver, who can't score. So, this is one of those weird games where I kind of feel like it could be, all right, the Chiefs steamroll these guys. They're just clearly better. Or, like last week, you get this team that comes in and they're playing hard. Like you said, they're feeling good. They're coming off a win. And they look like if I'm Jacksonville, I'm looking at that Tennessee tape, trying to see what they did to Kansas City.
I think this is going to be really interesting, this game, because Jacksonville might be 3-6. They have not lost at one time this year by more than one score. They have not lost at any point in time this season by more than a score. Now, they, as you mentioned, have some losses against bad teams. I mean, the Colts lit them up. Not Chiefs lost to the Colts, but the Colts lit them up. Houston's only win this year against Jacksonville, so on and so forth. To be very clear about this, the Chiefs should win this football game.
Sure.
And if the Chiefs perform the way they should perform, they should win it by multiple scores. The question with the Chiefs is, will they perform the way they should perform? Or is this going to be one of these games where at halftime I'm going to blow a blood vessel because they've taken 9 penalties and Andy's run the ball 3 times and they've turned the ball over on a muff kick because Hardman's not back there. They have nobody who can go back there and field the punt, and they've missed a field goal. By the way, Bucker, I don't know if you saw this today, said he's not 100%. That's why he's not running into these kicks, which, I mean, do they need to sit him until he's 100%? What is happening? I mean, because right now, he's not the same guy. So what are we doing here? But I think, realistically, the Chiefs match up pretty well with Jacksonville. The one thing the Titans do that's scary every time they play them is the Titans, to their credit, they know exactly who they are. They are a downhill physical football team, and they are not going to change for anything or anybody. And they're like that way on both sides of the ball. I mean, they are going to smack you in the. I'll give them one thing, and Tom just said it, and he's right on the money in the chat. The Titans DBs, if you watch the replay of that game, I mean, it's just a mugging all the way down the field. They should screw it. Call a penalty. Do it. Throw a flag on every play. And at some point, if you're the official, you can't. You just can't do that. So, and I'm not, that's not being critical of the Titans. I don't blame them. It's probably the only way they feel they can win the game. Just mug them the whole game. So, listen, I think ultimately this plays a little bit more into Kansas City's hands. Lawrence is a dink and dunk thrower of the ball. He does not have a pass over 50 yards this year. They are very much an underneath team. ETN is their best offensive player. He is explosive. He has 3 runs of over 45 yards this season. That needs to be corralled. The Chiefs cannot let this turn into one of these games where he's just gets out in space and they've got to hope that they can tackle 12 yards down the field. We know how that goes. So yeah. I think if you're the Chiefs, you by and large match up pretty well in this game. I think the Chiefs should be able to get somewhat of a pass rush. Although Jacksonville does not give up any sacks, they throw the ball so quickly, but that doesn't mean you can't affect the play here and there. Defensively, I do not think Jacksonville matches up really well with the Chiefs. Their secondary is not overwhelming. Their linebackers are very good. Devin Lloyd is maybe a defensive rookie of the year candidate. I mean, he's been excellent for them out of Utah, but it's not an overwhelming group up front. Not a bad group. There's not a group that you look at and say to yourself, "Oh, that's it. That's a group that is going to wreck a game." It shouldn't. It should not wreck a game. It's a group that you respect, but you're not necessarily terrified of. So you would hope that with all that being said, the Chiefs can go out and they can execute their game plan and they can handle business this week.
Yeah, I think you've got to watch out for ETN. Dangerous. He's averaging 5.7 yards per carry this year, and they like to throw him the ball as well. Obviously was out last year with an injury, but was very explosive at Clemson. When I look at the receivers on Jacksonville, this is another good game, I think, to continue to get Trent McDuffie up to speed, who's not allowed to catch this year. But by the way, I had to joke on Twitter when that stat was going around that like you and I could have probably prevented wide receiver catch against the Titans. It's as bad as they are on offense with Malik Willis. But look, this is a game where you look at the receivers and you're like, okay, who am I scared of? Christian Kirk? That's your best receiver? Right. I mean, he's fine. He's serviceable. He's a number 2 receiver at best, right? Marvin Jones Jr. Fine, okay. And then after that, it's Evan Ingram, the tight end, and Travis Etienne, who you've got to worry about. Jamal Agnew, you're not looking at this team. Tim Jones, like they don't have a lot of scary weapons in the passing game, and the Chiefs have a lot of really solid corners. So they should be able to corral the passing game pretty well. And I think if they want to play aggressively, like they did against the Titans in the second half, and play man defense and play single high safety in this game, I would give it a go. Now, look, this isn't Malik Willis. Trevor Lawrence is a talented quarterback. So, if you make a mistake, he's capable of beating you. So they can't do that. But, I mean, that's kind of how I would go into this game is I'd focus all my attention on ETN. And if Christian Kirk or Evan Ingram are going to beat you once or twice, I think I can live with that.
Yeah, I think you have to take away ETN in this game. I also think you try to play the underneath routes and essentially say, look, you're not going to throw the ball underneath and dink and dunk us to death all game. That's what the Jags want to do. That's how they play. If the Chiefs sit in a soft zone coverage in this game, I'm going to climb on the roof. I really like that. That's going to be how this ends for me because there is no reason. Your corners, if you're Kansas City, are more talented than Jacksonville's receivers. Like, climb up in man coverage, get up on the line of scrimmage, disturb the routes at the line. This is not a group with a bunch of burners at receiver. It's not a group that wants to go down the field. I just said they literally do not have one pass play over 50 yards this year. And that's not air yards. That's any yards. Like, they do not have any kind of play this year for 50 yards. If Kansas City sits back and allows Lawrence to dink and dunk, he will do it right into the end zone. They will do that. If you take that short stuff away, he's a lot less accurate down the field. He is not a great thrower down the field. He is very scattershot with his accuracy once you get past 10 yards or so in the air. So if I am the Chiefs, everything underneath is being taken away. Everything. I don't know that I'd blitz a ton in this game. I'd probably try to use the linebackers to actually, flood a zone or two underneath, let the corners play man. I don't know that you have to be in like this is another game. I'd probably drop a safety down. Yeah. What are you worried about? I put Justin Reed in the box. Let Thornhill stay where he's good. Thornhill is a good, deep free safety. When you ask him to come up and make tackles, it's a problem. Leave Juan Thornhill 15, 20 yards off the line of scrimmage. So I think that's where you are. To me, like, the overall theme of the game plan should not be that difficult. It really should not be that hard to figure out. If you look at Jacksonville's numbers this year, so offensively, they're actually better than you think. They're 10th in yards per play. They've only allowed 12 sacks, which is second best in the league. Again, a lot of that is because they throw the ball very quickly. They're 8th in yards per drive. This is a decent – now, the 21st in the red zone, which has really hurt them. Okay, but offensively, like, they move the ball. A lot of times, though, they settle for 3 because they get down these constricted areas and they struggle. Defensively, much more average. 14th in yards per play, 20th against the pass. That's a concern. They've not played a lot of good quarterbacks here, and they're still 20th. The blitz rate right in the middle at 16. They get home a decent amount of pressure. They're 9th in pressure, but they're 22nd in sacks. They get pressure, not a lot of sacks, only 16 on the season. And they're 18th in both third down defense and in the red zone. So defensively, they're not that good. Defensively, I think the plan, honestly, this week should be throw the ball a little bit, loosen them up, and then hit them with some runs as they start to back up. But the
They
Chiefs,
haven't
if they
played.
execute, be fine.
Yeah, they haven't played very many high-powered offenses this season.
No, they have not.
You know, when you look at their schedule, I mean, Philadelphia hung 29 on them. The Chargers, was that the game that Herbert was out when they beat the Chargers?
No, it was he hasn't missed a game. That was the game they thought he
Wow.
might have been out because it was a game after
Wow.
Kansas City, but he played.
Yeah, they killed them 38-10.
That was the game that Herbert, they're at 38-10, and they just left Herbert in the game.
Yeah.
That was the same game Slater got hurt and Bosa got hurt.
Yeah.
It was a mess for the Chargers.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, you look at they should be a little bit shocked by the Chiefs offense when they come into this one. You were mentioning Juan Thornhill, and I wanted to pick your brain on something. Do you think there's something like an argument to be made to maybe on some early downs start involving Deion Bush a little bit more?
I think depends on who you're playing. Like if I'm playing Cincinnati, no. I think there's an argument to be made to put Brian Cook in the game more. And it's not a knock on Bush. Bush, by the way, has been phenomenal in special teams. Phenomenal. The problem right now with Juan Thornhill, and I don't want to I think he's a quality player in a lot of aspects, but I can't help. It's like their safeties this year just they can't tackle. I mean, Justin Reed, I think, has been much better than Juan Thornhill has, although he's even missed his fair share lately. Juan Thornhill in coverage, fine. Good player. Juan Thornhill having to tackle anybody, a problem. It's not his strong suit. I do think if you're playing a team that you know runs a lot on early downs, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I also think, too, like, they got to stop with this too deep stuff against these teams that don't threaten you down the field. You want to play too deep against Buffalo? Yeah, sure. You should be in too deep against Buffalo. You want to play in too deep against Cincinnati? You ought to be in too deep against Cincinnati. That's fine. Like, if they play Baltimore in a playoff game and they're in too deep, my head's going to explode. Right. Put a single high safety back there and get another guy in the box. I don't understand what their fascination is. If Lamar Jackson's beating you deep with all the guys that he doesn't have on that team, what are we doing? Same's true this week. Jacksonville should not beat you deep ever. I don't care if there's no safeties back there. Right. If it's a cover zero blitz, they're not equipped to do it. So I think for the Chiefs, like it's really, you could experiment with Bush or with Cook. That's fine. But it's more to me about the scheme. Like that stuff's just got to change. There is no, and by the way, it's not a horn tooting thing. Last week at the halftime show, I was screaming about Spagnuolo, and I'm like, why don't they go to a bare front and put 5 guys on the line of scrimmage? They didn't go to a bare front, but in the second half of that game, they basically put a linebacker as a 5th defensive lineman. They stood him up. He wasn't down. They didn't go to 3D tackles, but they basically put 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. And lo and behold, the Titans couldn't run for a foot. Yeah. Like, I don't understand why that took a half of football against a team that you knew was going to come out and do that. And that's why I expect this game coming up, and we'll get to our predictions here in a few minutes, why I expect this game to be ultimately acceptable because of the result, but frustrating because of the process, where it'll just be like, Travis Etienne has 14 carries in the first half for 97 yards and a touchdown. Because the Chiefs have decided to play a 4 high safety look for fun this week. That'll be the thing that sets me off.
It's really interesting. The Chiefs are big favorites in this game. As you mentioned at the top, they're 9.5-point favorites. And the over-under is 50.5. So they think there's maybe going to be some scoring. And with a 9.5-point spread, that's Vegas telling me I don't think this is going to be a 27-24 game. I think the Chiefs are going to score over 30 points against the Jaguars. And that'd be all right with me. Let us know in the chat you can let us know in the chat, if you think the Chiefs are going to win this game. If you think the Chiefs are going to win this game, like this video, hit the thumbs up, vote for the Chiefs to win, hit the thumbs up button. That'll help us get more Chiefs fans in here as well. We got to talk about the Doug Peterson angle here. Obviously knows Andy Reid and Andy Reid's system really well. Won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. Very accomplished coach. Are you worried about, does this give the Jaguars an edge in a game like this?
I don't think so. That's going to be a fun little storyline, but he wasn't there when Mahomes was there. Like, they're so different. I mean, Doug Pearson hasn't been there forever. So I mean, when was Doug Pearson's last? I'm trying to think. Was it 2015, I believe?
Yeah.
So it's been a long time. And by the way, Andy knows Doug Peterson pretty well too. So
right.
I don't think so. If anything, Andy's actually got a really good record against former assistant coaches. He's always been very good against them. So I think you probably can throw that out the window. I don't think it's a huge advantage. It's not like Peterson was there a year ago. Then maybe, all right, he's kind of got an inside track. I mean, they're wildly different than when he was there, right? I mean, when he was there, their offense was centered around Sharkandrick West and Spencer Ware. And now it's, they barely even know they have running back in the team. So I would not put too much stock into that. Yeah, sure, Doug knows Andy, from an internal standpoint, but like, it's not like that's going to be, hey, now that we know that, now we can stop Mahomes. I don't put a ton of stock in it.
Another little wrinkle in this game to consider, and I'd be interested to know if there's a stat on this. The Jaguars have a bye week after this.
They do.
And it's kind of like you're 3-6 and you're thinking about a week off in Florida. Does that enter? I would be interested to know if there's a stat on, I mean, it exists, I'm sure. How do teams fare the week before their bye week?
I don't know. It's a great question. I thought about that. I don't know. I don't know that. I don't have the damn time to sit there and do that research project. But
you need a computer for that one.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody out there's done it. I don't know, but there's a point. There's a good point though. Like, is it one of these things where, you look at it and just go, hey, you know what? If you're Jacksonville, there's some guys in the team. I will say this. I do think. I guess I'll rephrase it this way. I do think it's the kind of thing where if the Chiefs get up big early in the game, I could see Jacksonville being like, you know what? Let's just get to the bye week.
Yeah.
Let's get the hell out of here. Right. I mean, but some people have mentioned it in the chat. I will say we didn't really talk about this, but it does bear a quick mention before we get into our predictions and listener reviews real quick. We could see more Kadarius Toney this week if McCall Hardman doesn't play.
Right.
And look, I'm not happy about that in the sense that I don't want McCall Hardman to be hurt. First, I don't want anybody to be hurt. Secondly, he's playing really well. Kadarius Toney looked intriguing in that first game. And I got to be honest with you guys, talking to people around the team after the trade, I did not expect Toney to be that featured early in the game. That was
right to him.
I thought he'd get a play or two here or there. I did not think that like all of a sudden Kadarius Toney was just going to be really involved from the start. He played well. So that becomes now like is Kadarius Toney going to be getting a whole lot of snaps here? Yeah. Could be very interesting. Just to, again, and maybe Hardman practice tomorrow and he's there Sunday. We don't know yet, but just something to keep in mind.
I think if Hardman's banged up, he's been playing so well for the Chiefs, and obviously it's the NFL. If you can be out there, you can be out there. But if if you're Andy Reid and you've got a very similar weapon in Kadarius Toney, and you're thinking about, I want to run one of these jet sweeps that I normally run with McCole. Yep. And I've got Kadarius Toney, like maybe I just give that dude the ball. Let's get a look at his speed. It's not like he's got to study the playbook for 47 hours to run a jet sweep. So I think we'll see him in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of, because they have Toney, they say maybe McCole Hardman dresses but doesn't play very much. I'll tell you what, I know a lot of people picked him up in fantasy. I would not, if he's active, I would not start him with Toney on the team.
No, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair. I think it's just an interesting little wrinkle to watch to see if he plays this week. All right. So we have 3 listener reviews to get to today, one of which has a question in there. So I'll get that one last, even though it was the first one in terms of the date sent in. So first one I'm going to get to is Clint McKenzie, our PR man since the beginning. The most enjoyable Chiefs podcast. If you only want sanitized, boring Chiefs facts, stop reading right now and move on. This isn't the feed for you. Sure, you'll get as much or more essential Chiefs news and info here as you will anywhere else. However, you will also enjoy yourself while listening. These hosts are among the smartest, funniest, and most personable people on the planet. Once you've listened for a while, you'll consider them friends, just as I do. Don't be a schmuck. Just listen. You'll be glad you did. First of all, hilarious use of schmuck.
Yep.
Second of all, thank you so much, Clint. You are always too kind.
You don't
Really
use
appreciate
schmuck
it.
enough.
No, schmuck is a great one.
Schmuck's a great insult. I love it.
Yes. Really, really a way to just send somebody over the edge.
Yeah.
Then we have another one from Austin Levon Choi, best Chiefs community out there. I love being a part of this community. The best Chiefs podcast, bar none. Your daily content gets me through the work week. I re-listen to episodes while driving and drive my wife nuts. It's been awesome to see AA grow and see how you're growing the content and community. I can't wait to see where this goes. Can't give enough 5-star reviews. Thank you for everything you do. Please, please, please keep it up. We want all of it and more. Well, we will keep it up. And thank you, Austin. And thank you for listening more than once. I can barely even hear myself for 5 minutes without having to turn it off. So I appreciate
special shout out to Levon's wife too for allowing him to listen to our podcast and put up with having to hear us. Appreciate you as well.
Correct. And then the last one is from ET13. Love the podcast.
Yeah.
Love the podcast. Reese's Pumpkins or Reese's Christmas trees? Let the fight start.
All right. I gotta go with the pumpkin. I like the tree is cool, but I feel like the pumpkin in each bite, because of the shape, I get more peanut butter in each bite, which I'm for. So I'm pro pumpkin. What about you, Verderame?
All right, so let's let this be said.
Would you have them on hand?
So, pumpkin. All right. I do. I have a few from Halloween.
Scientific research here.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It was a good thing. You didn't send me one, by the way. We could have done this together,
Go to hell. No, I got that. Going down the hatch. I got the old 4-packs in the office. Whenever a tough time is at hand. I'm going Christmas trees, though. Now, it needs to be said. There's no wrong answer here.
Right.
Okay. It's Reese's. The only wrong answer is not having them on hand.
Yeah.
However, part of it for me, I mean, obviously it tastes the same. The Christmas tree one, it's like part of the holiday season for me. If I see if I get on the scale and I'm like 30 pounds more than I want to be, which thankfully has not been the case at any point in life, although, let's face it, like I'm like a meal away. Okay. Yeah. If I get on the scale and I'm 30 pounds and I'm like really depressed, I'm like, oh man, I got to go to Walgreens to get something. And then I see a Reese's tree, I'm like, well, 31 pounds then. I mean, it's undeniable.
Yeah.
So good.
It's so good. Yeah. When we were doing trick or treat, this kid comes up to the porch and he says, y'all got Reese's? And I said, yeah, man, here you go. Of course, I had a ton of Reese's on hand, different kinds. He stops and he says, he looks over his shoulder and his buddy's way down the street. And he goes, hey, Larry, they got Reese's over here. And Larry comes sprinting towards our house. And he looks at this group of kids next to him and looks at me and goes, don't give them none of the Reese's. Larry's coming. I was absolutely dying. This kid was 8 years old. Absolutely hilarious. Like, they're on a mission, those kids. They don't want Starburst. They don't want licorice. They want the Reese's. They're going to the Reese's houses.
That's awesome. There was a guy, I grew up in a really small town, and our trick-or-treating was there was one area where the houses were kind of next to each other. So everybody in the town went to this area. It was probably maybe 30, 40 houses. And there was a house walkable from that area that, a 10-minute walk, whatever. And it kind of I feel like every kid has this house in their childhood where it's like a house nobody goes near because the old guy, he's crazy or whatever, right?
Sure. Yeah.
That was the house. So the reason I bring this up is he wouldn't come out of his house, but he had this chute. It almost I think it was I swear to God, I think it was like a downspout that he just converted, and he would drop full size candy bars down there, and you just put your bag underneath it, and that's how he could give you this candy, which looking back is suspect as hell. My parents, nice job, guys.
Right.
Yeah, but he dropped like you get like 3 or 4 like full size things, and like I remember my buddies and I would go and just yell up like, you got Reese's, you got Kit Kat, whatever, and like every time the guy must have been a really nice guy at heart because my God, he must have spent a fortune. Everybody knew to go there. But I remember like every once in a while you'd look in there and you get like 4 full size things and 3 of them were Reese's. Like, oh man, thanks, man.
I love
amazing.
I love Halloween. And we, there was like 45 minutes to go and we ran out of candy. We had a lot of kids this year. And I said to Mag, hold down the fort. I'm going to run to CVS real quick and get more candy. And she was like, man, let's just turn off the light. Like there's, it's 45 minutes left. Like by the time you get back, I was like, no. I was like, this is the one time a year I'm charitable. These kids need their candy and we're going until the end. And I went down there and all that was left at the CVS was they have the Christmas candy that they started putting out. And so I was actually giving out Reese's trees on Halloween. It was pretty funny. Actually, we got from one of our Ring of Honor members. Again, if you're interested in becoming part of our community here at Arrowhead Addict, check out the link in the description. Our guy Timo, who's celebrating his 4-month anniversary and is a Ring of Honor member, he said he's using his highlighted comment. He said, "Hi guys, I actually had a presentation in school about AA last Arrowhead Addict, I assume he means. And my teacher told me I'm getting a freaking 15 out of 15. Ha ha ha! German school system means A+. Timo, awesome. What was this presentation? Like we got to know details.
There's no way there are pictures involved because that immediately would have downgraded.
Like here are the hosts. What was Halloween? So maybe he was trying to scare his classmates, except for Sterling. I put Sterling up there. I hope you use Sterling's picture. But yeah, we'd love to know what the deal was. What was the presentation? Yes. Was it was it about being part of a community? Was it something to do with podcasting? We'd love to know that. Oh, we got a super chat from just saw it pop up from TPT Chiefs Football Podcast. I saw your tweet from earlier naming random Chiefs, and so Verderame, I don't know if you saw this earlier. I tweeted out. It's a hilarious thread. I tweeted out name a random forgotten Chief. I'll start, and mine was DeVar Darling. So what our super chat here is saying? I said Quinn Gray or Bobby Scipio. Can you guys name me someone random? So I'll stick with my DeVar Darling, and I want to hear your pick, Verderame. But it's a hilarious thread. You got to go in and check it out. It's also very painful because a lot of the guys that they're naming are like, you're like, oh Jesus Christ, that guy was on the team.
I'll tell you, I don't know why his name immediately popped in my head. Benny Sapp, yeah, old corner there, and then oh my God, another. I'll give you Mark Bradley. Played with DeVar Darling.
I liked Mark Bradley.
It's funny though. This reminds me of a game I played in college when some of us were, it was a Friday night and it was 3 a.m. and maybe you went out, whatever, and you're sitting around with the guys having some food, having some beverages, and invariably a lot of my buddies and I, they're all sports fans, so we'd be sitting there, and one of my buddies especially is a huge baseball fan. And so it became like one night we started out, we're like, hey, like try to come up with just the most random obscure baseball player you can think of, like from our lifetimes. So we did it. And then that took on a life of its own. Like a week later, it would be like, so we'd just be sitting there, big Wally Joyner. And then it'd just go on and on and on. People try to keep going. And it was great because every once in a while, somebody'd have a little bit too much fun that evening and they'd be really hurting. And you just like somebody from like the couch like under a blanket would be Gary DiSarcina. It would just go and go. It's a fun game. It's a fun Mike Cloud, by the way.
Yeah, Mike Cloud. Some of these are hilarious. Sean McGrath.
Oh my God.
I'm trying to
Leonard Pope.
Scott Fujita, Leonard Pope, Kawika Mitchell, Turk and Tank. Remember Turk and Tank?
Yeah. Remember, there's both the second round picks are supposed to be like the interior of the line. No.
Yeah. Mike Maslowski, Dexter McCluster. I don't feel like Dexter McCluster is a forgotten one. Lake Dawson. He's not great.
Lake Dawson's a pretty good one. Yeah. Sean LaChapelle in the chat here. That's hilarious. Also, TPT with our super chat. Thank you, man. Who's a Chiefs player from back in the day? Kind of random. You thought it was going to be really good. Ended up being a bust. Talent wise, Snoop Minnis.
Yeah.
who actually like had talent. And Lucas is Frankie Hammond, son of a bitch. Nobody drove me more out of my mind than Frankie Hammond, who's on the Chiefs. I swear to God, nobody in the world's ever been slower at a speed position than Frankie Hammond Jr. It's impossible. Absolutely impossible.
Yeah, there's a bunch in there that guys. To answer the super chat, mine was I thought Niall Davis was going to be really good.
Yeah,
I was like absolutely sure of it. Didn't work out, but some of these names, man. Karen Fox, obviously the obligatory Bobby Scipio, John McGraw. I have forgotten about Quick Draw McGraw. John McGraw was Dan Sorensen before Dan Sorensen.
That's an insult to Dan Sorensen.
Come on, John McGraw. He was a great guy. He was a glue guy.
John McGraw
did the dirty work.
He was that. Mike Vrabel, former Chiefs great.
Yeah, you forget these guys. We used to joke on Arrowhead Addict all the time back when I ran the site about Vrabel because he was totally washed. Great player. He got to Kansas City, couldn't do anything. And Scott Pioli just kept trotting out there, and he kept talking about the intangibles. He's trying to bring the Patriot. Well, we traded, the intangibles, and we would do a joke after every game, like how many intangibles did Mike Vrabel get in that game because he didn't get any sacks. But here's one: Sylvester Morris, Colby Smith, Greg Wesley. Oh, that's a good one.
My dad texted me just now, apparently listening to the show live, says Mike Adamle, who was a player in the 70s when they were atrocious, who were number one, by the way. Yeah. Mark Bowrichter, who's been on the podcast, actually.
Yeah.
I never forget about Mark Bowrichter because of that 99-yard catch.
Yep.
I was watching live when that happened, and I was like, hey, Rich John Sheehy, a hilarious name. We could go on forever. I mean, there's so many. There's just random, especially like that Herm era, Romeo. Guys are just, never forget that Amani Toomer was signed for like an hour and a half.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't Bobby Ingram on the team for like an hour?
Yeah, Bobby Ingram is on the team. Here's
Stanford
one.
Rout.
Stanford Rout.
Who didn't get out of the preseason?
Yeah. Sanders Cummings. That is a deep cut. That is a deep cut.
Sanders, who the hell said that?
I lost it. Hello.
Wow.
Country Boy 567.
Wow.
On Twitter, yeah.
Country Boy's hilarious. That is that's a pull. Yeah. Mark Vlasic, Stacy just sitting here. Stacy, you might win, man.
Yeah, that's a good one.
By the way, that's a great trivia question. So if you try to do this if you're a Chiefs fan, try to name, and I'm just going to do it right now. Because again, we'll be here for an hour and a half. Try to name every Chiefs quarterback that has started a playoff game for the franchise. And it's not that hard, right? Like you think okay, so Len Dawson, and that takes you all the way up to the 90s, and to the 80s, just one game in the 80s. Yeah. And then it gets you into the 90s. And everybody knows, of course, like Mahomes, and you have the one with Castle, and you have Alex Smith. And Mark Vlasic started a playoff game for the Chiefs.
Wow.
And let me tell you something. It didn't go well. Okay? Yeah. So you ever want to appreciate the current team? It's on YouTube. Go watch the 91 Chiefs-Bills playoff game with Mark Vlasic up in Buffalo. Woof. Oh, my God. But in any event, all right. We've gotten so far off topic.
I got one more. Let's just go totally. Ryan Merritt. Wasn't he the tight end that they drafted?
Yeah.
And he got pulled over and he had weed and he tried to eat the weed.
Yeah.
And they made him spit it out and he said all this for a little bit of weed and he got cut the next day.
That Chiefs era was really something special.
Oh God. I mean the whole team was random for guys you want to forget.
I mean, I love you got the Debo, the Sonic story, which is, just remember when Haley showed up and they were so out of shape that he went on like this big, basically a weight loss program with that team.
The conditioning
and as a team, they lost something like 700 or 800 pounds in camp. They cut like 24 or 25 guys off the team and 2 of them got picked up. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, they were terrible.
My hottest take of all time to Chiefs. I swear to God, Todd Haley could have been a decent head coach. I'm not complaining about the way it all shook out. Obviously, it worked out for the Chiefs. But he went to the playoffs with Matt Castle And the following year, they were a blocked field goal away by Richard Seymour from going back. And that was the year he got fired like halfway through the year because him and Scott Pioli were going to kill each other.
Yeah.
Like, Todd Haley never got another opportunity really after that. And I think it's probably because of his personality. Like, fair enough. I am convinced if Todd Haley had a real team, like actually could have done some things. Now, might not have lasted long because people might have lost their minds with him.
Right.
But I really think he actually could have been a halfway decent head coach. I know
the problem with Haley is everybody hated him, right? He drove everybody nuts.
Indeed, the problem,
right? So if you got a coach like that, he came up on Parcells' knee. If you got a coach like that and you don't win, it's bad news. Yeah, you can't be an asshole if you don't win. All right, let's get into our game predictions for the Chiefs Jaguars as we went totally off the rails. Why don't you kick us off, Verderame? How's this one going to shake out?
So I think the Jags are going to cover. Actually, on the rundown, I put 31-21, but I'm going to renege on that. I'm going to go 31-23. It could. I think that score is going to be about right. I think we could get to it one of two ways, and of course, I have the Chiefs winning. By the way, either it's absolutely horrifying for 4 quarters, and they have to like pull away at the very end and eke out the win. Like Jacksonville's at the 20-yard line with 10 seconds left. Or, which I kind of think this is going to be the case, they pull away in the third quarter and it's like 31-16. And then Jacksonville just like slaps a touchdown in there with like 2 minutes to go. And, the Chiefs have to basically recover an onside kick. I think they win and Josh was saying forecast. It's going to be clear, but it's going to be cold. It's going to make 40 degrees. So I think the Chiefs win. I think it's a game where Jacksonville's always like somewhat in it, but you never are like really threatened in the second half.
Yeah.
So give me 31-23 KC.
I'll take it. I got it. Chiefs 27, Jaguars 23. I actually have it close. Yeah, I think the Jaguars have enough weapons with ETN that I just think it's going to be one of those annoying games. It's a 1:00 kick. They've got a talent. They've got a good head coach. They got a pretty decent quarterback. I just think it's going to be one of those annoying, pesky games where the Chiefs have some drives where they go 3 and out and they give up a big run to ETN. Everybody's frustrated and people on Twitter are losing their mind. And then, it's close for a while and then Mahomes, marches them down and they've got like a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. And the Jaguars make it close, but I think we'll be okay midway through the fourth. The Chiefs will be fine, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope, the Chiefs have had these games where when they come off one of these hard fought games, they steamroll somebody. So hopefully this is a steamroll game where they just come out and they take care of business.
It might be. By the way, last little note that I think is just really interesting. I said this earlier on the earlier show with Ben Heisler, which I would encourage everybody to join and listen into, which on Thursdays at 11 o'clock Central. The Chiefs made the big Tyreek Hill trade this offseason, and everybody kind of talked about like, well, who's this going to hurt more, Tyreek or Patrick Mahomes? Are they going to be the same? Are they going to be worse? Whatever. Tyreek Hill is on pace to shatter the all-time single-season receiving yardage record. Conversely, Patrick Mahomes is on pace to shatter the all-time passing yardage record. Turns out, both guys, pretty good. Pretty good. I saw that today. I was looking at that. I'm like, that's unbelievable. Like, Hill's having the best year of his career. Yeah. Mahomes might be having the best year of his career. Good for both guys.
Do you think Tyreek can keep it up? I mean, the pace is ridiculous.
I don't know if he's going to break the record, but I mean, I wouldn't bet against him. I'll tell you that much. Like he's going to have 200 targets this year.
Yeah.
I mean, they are just beating the hell out of him right now. Honestly, I genuinely feel this way. I think it's great for both sides. I do. Like Tyreek clearly wanted to be the guy, like who he was going to be the guy. It wasn't going to be him and Kelsey. It was going to be the guy. And you know what? The Chiefs trade away a guy who might have 2,000 yards receiving this year. And I'll be damned. Like they're more efficient offensively. I don't know how it's even possible, but they are. A big part of that is Juju Smith-Schuster, who has been fantastic, who's on pace for almost 1,300 yards. MVS, for his hot and cold nature, is on pace for like 800. They have been fine. It hasn't impacted them. And I Smith-Schuster is not Tyreek Hill But if you're the Chiefs, like, would you take trading Tyreek away for 5 picks and Juju Smith-Schuster and MVS and a ton of cap space? You probably would. So, I mean, I think it's worked out for both, and I think that's cool to see. Tyreek's having an unbelievable year in Miami. Mahomes is having an unbelievable year in Kansas City. Both teams have playoff aspirations and maybe even deep runs ahead of them. I'll tell you what, they are playing a playoff game. That is going to be bonkers if those two teams get together in the postseason. So just something to keep in mind. But we'll see. I just think it's interesting that both guys on pace for record-setting seasons after being separated.
Yeah, it's very it's very good trade for both teams. I don't think Tyreek's gonna be able to keep that up. But they are force feeding him the ball. So if he stays healthy, he's getting a lot there. It's a little bit of a different offense than what the Chiefs did. And I think another thing that you got to look at with the Chiefs is Mahomes has improved a little bit. He learned a lot from last year and the way that defenses played him. And so he stays in the pocket a little more. He climbs the pocket and he plays in a different offense now. And Mahomes getting better should be a scary thing for the rest of the NFL. All right, everybody, we got to get out of here. So listen, again, we're going to be in Kansas City. If you weren't with us earlier in the podcast, we're going to be in Kansas City on December 11th in Kansas City, Kansas, just over the border, like 4 blocks across the border. And we're going to be at Tanner's Bar and Grill. Details to come, but mark off December 11th, Sunday Night Football, Chiefs at Broncos. We're going to be in town. Me, Verderame, hopefully Connor, Sterling, drinking beer, hanging out with all of you. We can't wait to see you guys. This was a really fun show. Appreciate you all. Thanks to our members. Thanks to all the super chats and all the support. Thanks to you, Matt Verderame. Thanks to our producer, Richard. We will see you guys on Sunday. No pre-show. It's just a 1:00 game. Nothing crazy. We'll be here for the we'll probably do a halftime show. We always do for Chiefs Jaguars. And then we'll be there after the game or maybe in the evening. I don't know if we've decided yet for the Chiefs post-game show. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your support. We'll see you on Sunday. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.